Chapter 5, Legal Foundations of Professional Nursing. Knowledge of legal rights and responsibilities related to nursing practice is essential for the nurse. As nursing practice has become more autonomous, nurses have increased responsibility for their actions as well as the actions of those they supervise. Understanding one's own rights and responsibilities as a registered nurse, as well as those of others, is essential for competent and safe nursing practice. Standards of practice, codes of ethics, and established laws act as guides for nursing practice. First, let's do a little review. There's 4 primary sources of law, that includes constitutions, statutes, administrative laws, and decisions of court, which is common law. So constitutions establish general organization of the federal government. There's 3 branches, as you know, the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. Statutory law, that is enacted by any legislative body. Federal law always supersedes state or provincial laws. An example is Patient Self-Determination Act, which enables clients to participate in decisions about their care. Administrative laws are enacted by specific governing bodies with expertise in the area of the enacted law. Judicial law is a body of principles that evolve from court decisions. Safeguarding the public. Topics for this slide include the State Board of Nursing, credentialing, certification, accreditation, and standards of care. Nurse practice acts as the legal boundary. Nurse practice acts as the legal boundary of nursing. The first laws applicable to nursing in the United States. There were no restrictions on nursing practice prior to 1923. In 1923, all states had nurse registration laws. State authority responsible for nursing practice within the state is the State Board of Nursing. The regulation of nursing is a function of the state or provincial law. State or provincial legislators pass statutes that define and regulate nursing. These statutes are known as Nurse Practice Act. These acts must be consistent with constitutional and federal provisions. Nurse Practice Acts control the practice of nursing through licensing. They legally define the practice of nursing within the specified state. Every state has a Nurse Practice Act. Nurse Practice Acts describe the scope of nursing and protect the public. They set the requirements for licensure, including educational requirements, and they describe the legal titles and abbreviations that a nurse can use. The state authority that has responsibility for the regulation of nursing practice within a state is the State Board of Nursing. The boards of nursing are authorized to develop administrative rules, regulations, and responsibilities related to the Nurse Practice Act and to enforce the rules to obtain and maintain licensure. Nurse Practice Acts usually define the authority of the Board of Nursing, its composition, and its power. The Nurse Practice Act defines nursing and the boundaries of the scope of nursing practice. It also identifies types of licenses and titles, states the requirements for licensure, and protects titles, and identifies grounds for disciplinary action. Credentialing is the process of determining and maintaining competence in nursing practice. The credentialing process is one way in which the nursing profession maintains standards of practice and accountability for educational preparation of its members. Credentialing includes licensure, registration, certification, and accreditation. The purpose of these credentialing methods is to protect the public's welfare and safety. Licensure is defined by the National Council of State Board of Nursing as the process by which an agency of state government grants permission to an individual to engage in a given profession upon finding that the applicant has attained the essential degree of competency necessary to perform a unique scope of practice. Licenses are legal permits a government agency grants to individuals to engage in the practice of the profession and to use a particular title. A particular jurisdiction or area is covered by the license. Certification is a validation that a nurse has met minimum standard competence. Accreditation status is given by an organization to institutions, programs, or services that meet predetermined standards and criteria. Examples of accrediting bodies include the Joint Commission, TJC, or your school is accredited by an educational accrediting body. Standards of care are used to evaluate quality of care. They're derived from multiple sources. They're developed from the American Nurses Association Standards of Nursing Practice. Potential liability areas include negligence and malpractice. They may be intentional or unintentional. Nursing negligent actions may occur with medication errors, burning a client falls, or failure to assess and take appropriate action. Malpractice is defined as professional misconduct or the failure to meet the requisite standard of care. Elements of proof of nursing malpractice are duty to provide care, breach of duty, injury to the client, and a causal relationship between the breach of duty and the client's injury. Nursing situations in which negligent actions are most likely to occur, as I said, are medication errors, burning a client falls, and failure to assess and take appropriate action. Strategies to reduce medical injuries include increasing staff, having experienced nurses, reducing interruptions and distractions, improve information exchange. Nurses usually do obtain their own liability insurance coverage, which is available through the American Nurses Association or private companies. You also have to remember that documentation is a legal source of information about the patient. According to the law, if something was not properly documented, then the responsible party did not do whatever needed to be done. Nursing documentation needs to be legally credible. That is, it must give an accurate accounting of the care the client received. Documentation is credible when it includes the following: the care is documented at the time provided, that is accurate, which is a factual account is given of what the nurse did and how the client responded. Truthful. So documentation includes an honest account of what was actually done or observed, and it needs to be appropriate. Only what one would be comfortable discussing in a public setting is documented. Essential legal aspects of malpractice include informed consent, adverse event reports, DNR orders, euthanasia, and death-related issues. Informed consent is an agreement by a client to accept a course of treatment or a procedure after complete information has been given, including the risks of treatment, and the physician has provided related facts. Obtaining informed consent for specific medical and surgical treatment is the responsibility of the physician. Adverse event or incident reports should make all known facts known. Adverse event reports are not part of the client's medical record, but should be noted. An adverse event report or incident report, which is the agency record of an unusual occurrence, is a record of an adverse that is required by the Joint Commission. Adverse events include medication errors, client falls, equipment malfunction, surgical errors, and other preventable incidents. Do not resuscitate orders or no code may be ordered by the physician for clients who are in a stage of terminal, irreversible illness or expected death. Nurses need to know their responsibility to clients who have a DNR order. Nurses need to ensure the DNR order is based on a client's values and choices. That is perhaps the highest priority. That the advance directive or surrogate makes decision for incompetent client. DNR orders are discussed with client, family, and designated decision maker. There's clear documentation. It's separate from other aspects of the client's care, and nurses should request a change in the assignment if it conflicts with the nurse's belief system. An advanced health care directive is a statement made before receiving health care specifying the client's wishes. Euthanasia is the act of painlessly putting to death persons suffering. This euthanasia is legally wrong in Canada and the United States. There is voluntary euthanasia and there's assisted suicide. You can check in your textbook for specific definitions for both of them. And the impaired nurse, the last side. There's 3 victims of the impaired nurse. It's the client, the colleagues, and the impaired nurse. So we will examine the nurse's role in identifying and assisting the impaired nurse. One whose practices deteriorate because of substance abuse is considered an impaired nurse. 3 victims of the impaired nurse, as I said, are client, colleagues, and the impaired nurse. Actions to take when a nurse suspects an impaired colleague is do not let them care for clients. Report unsafe practices, document suspicious behaviors or incidents, confront individual with another person alongside you, respect the nurse's right to confidentiality and privacy, and avoid being judgmental.